I am the executive director of Team Gongloe, but now we are in campaign, so I am the communications director and press secretary to the Gongloe National Campaign Management Team. We'd like to welcome you. The councillor has been, all over this country. He's even been to the southeast. That was in April. Feel free to ask any questions. The councillor is available. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Welcome to the office of the Standing Bureau of the Liberian People's Party. I'm happy to meet journalists from Southeastern Liberia, short of Sino County, and Grand Crew. From Maryland, Grand Crew, so, right.
Okay, so for introduction,
my name is Brian Dio. I'm the assistant manager for programs at Phoenix FM. It's owned by Tiawan University. I also correspond for KFTV Library from Liberian.
Alfred Lucy from Radio University County, Deputy News Director.
I'm Alfonso Bodan. I'm the program director at CFM Southeastern Region Radio, and I also fire in for Anna FM here on TV.
So I'm Kaji, and station manager for Congo Broadcast Service as in Grand G. I also report for the independent newspaper here.
Oh, very good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. Again, let's have some discussion.
Right.
So if you have any question to ask,
Yeah.
any issue, let's discuss.
Okay. So basically, we'll talk about issues of the economy generally, like I've already talked about it, and also we basically want to know media reforms. What you're gonna do in terms of the protection of journalists. I've heard you most time talk about, I serve as lawyer for journalism, or journalism, the code and all that. And so, what specific framework like gonna be?
Okay, so
all these things.
So let's start with the journalist part.
Right.
The most important thing.
Right. So we just do that. So if you're connecting a radio station,
So
you can do that.
So I'm like screaming on KFTV.
Yeah, myself. That's what I'm worried about.
Go right ahead.
Just 1 minute, just set up so we can.
Brian, just give me one.
The chairman and meeting officer will be short.
So just know that we'll also be live in Grand G on the
That's
radio.
fine.
Right. Yeah, you're home. Put it on. That's
So
what
they
the
want
bottom
to
people.
put it,
Yeah.
And you know that woman.
Yeah.
Put it,
Is all?
Which party is it, sir?
Liberian People's Party. Liberian People's Party. So you can say Liberians People's Party. Liberian People's Party. Because I said it is not the people.
When you just let them know.
But you have to re-ask the question soon.
Yeah. No, when we start, as soon as we get out of classes.
The light okay? Let's do it before it gets dark.
You want to play already?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let me see right
Can I just a bit closer?
Bring my broom. Somebody. Listen.
Yeah, just go there for a place.
Please bring it broom.
You ready?
Bring the broom.
folks in here.
Yeah, so we can. So guys, welcome to this joint broadcast, and so I'm Kaji from Grangina County, Panama Broadcast Service, Abu Bona, Cllr Radio, Brian Dio, Maryland County, Phoenix FM, with Redosi Force of River G, and today we are fortunate to have this conversation with Councillor Tiawan Gongloe. He's the standard bearer of the
Tiawan Saye Gongloe.
Tiawan Saye Gongloe, right? He's the standard bearer of the Liberian People Party. So if you're listening and watching, I want to say thank you. Councillor Gongloe, again, it's a pleasure. Good evening and welcome to the Southeast Media. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. And welcome to the national headquarters of the Liberian People's Party.
Okay.
To the office of the standard bearer of the Liberian People's Party.
I was a trip back home. He was in him a few days ago.
Oh, it was great. I think you saw in the New Dawn newspaper today, in the buyers are saying they want a head this time and not a tail. That was a head by, and metaphorically it means they want presidency, and not vice presidency, because they have had 2 vice presidents before. So so they are all, supportive of my campaign for the presidency.
How many times you visited? Just to ask.
Well, prior to this last visit, I had gone to 110 towns in Nimba. So this time I added Wopley and a few other towns. I think now I've probably gone to 115 or more towns, maybe 120 towns by this time, 120. So, Nimba has over 700 towns, and they are large towns. Each of those towns can qualify as a city like in Grand Cru. Some of them are much bigger than some of the cities in Grand Cru. So, but everywhere we went, the people at Nimba were very enthusiastic, and they kept saying one thing, the same thing that I've heard all over Liberia, is that you are the first presidential aspirant to lead the new role, to lead the big towns and come to our little towns. And we're very happy about that. Yeah.
Now, let's basically talk about your manifesto. I've heard you talk about the issue of rule of law, transformation, basically in that sector. I've also heard you talking about the economy and several other issues. But just basically, just give us a drill of, what Liberians should expect if Councillor Gongloe is elected today.
So before going into that, I know you might want to respond. But let's talk about what's your take on the current status of the country.
Right.
Well, the current status of the country.
Ranging from the economic sector.
Every aspect of the country is in a terrible shape. Whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's rural condition, whether it's food security, just everything is in a bad condition. Unemployment is high. The level of poverty is so high, and you can see it every market you go to in Liberia, and I've gone to at least 14 counties. I've started at 13, I'm in the 14th now, and there are more sellers in almost every market in Liberia than buyers. So it means the economy is going down. And the road condition is so terrible. In fact, I've traveled in most parts of Africa, the 4 corners of Africa, west, east, south, and north. And I found that Liberia has the worst roads in the rural parts of Liberia. And it is undermining economic growth and development. It's also undermining human security. Imagine you are a sick person, you're put in ambulance on any of those roads, you're down the road. For example, from Kilipo County to Wipo County, when the road is good, it's 30 minutes. In my travel in that region, it took me from 5 o'clock from Cllr weekend. I reached Cllr weekend 1 a.m. the next morning because of the mud on the road. There were cars stuck in the mud and we couldn't pass. So under a condition like that, if you're bringing goods from Silicon, Maryland County, or Philadelphia, Grand Crew County, or even Webo, or Webo Yanaka, or Barabo, and you want to bring a truckload of plantain from your farm or that you purchase to come to Monrovia to sell, you will get stuck between Webo County again and Cllr County again for an anemia because that's the worst road after you leave Fishtown, where the road is paved. You might spend 10 days there in a truck, and your planting will get rotten, and you get poor because you harvested your plant and go and sell and get money. You probably borrow money from the Susu Club or from shop owner, and then when you come back, you'll be owing debt. You can't pay somebody, will take you to court. Whatever money you have savings, you will take all that money and pay that, then you have become poorer. So the relationship between poverty and bad road is direct. The worse the road, the poorer the people become. The better the road, the better off economically they become, especially farmers and traders.
What can you
But more on the economy, on the question of the economy, no economy can thrive in lawlessness and chaos. That's why we're emphasizing number one, rule of law. We want the laws to be applied in this country to everyone equally, including if my son commits crime, he must bear the same penalty that someone whom I don't know commits. The law must be equally applied. In Liberia today, there is selective application of the law, selective enforcement of the law. In fact, our government, in most of its sectors, is not governing by the rule of law because every sector of the economy is governed by law. Mining, agriculture, just every aspect of the economy is governed by law. If you don't govern by law, then you engage in arbitrary governance. And arbitrariness depends upon who is heading the ministry or agency of government. It's difficult to do business in an environment like that. I've talked to many business people who come here. They want to pay their legitimate money to government sometimes because of the red tape. They pack their bag and go back. Because many countries in the world, like in Europe and America, they have what they call foreign anti-corruption act. That if you commit corruption in foreign countries, when you go back to America and some European countries, they will investigate you for committing corruption abroad. So they come here, they want to do business, they want to do legitimate business following the law. But they find out that in many ministries, people don't go, and agencies of government, people don't go by law. So that affects the economy. We want to make sure that that governance is by rule of law. And when it comes to crime, everybody who commits an offense is treated just like anybody else. So that there is equality in the application of the law, equality in enforcement of the law, equality in interpretation of the law.
What is responsible for this entire process of rule of law? People have not been treated fairly, the law has not been implemented to others.
Lack of political will. Lack of political will from the top down. It's not that they don't know the laws exist, but to abide by the law requires a certain level of discipline. You have to have the political will. It's the lack of political will to apply the law, to enforce the law, that has caused our country to be the way it is. And I have the political will to govern by the rule of law. Adherence to the rule of law is the best way to sustain peace and to promote progress and prosperity in any country. It's happening in Botswana, which is the least corrupt country in Africa. Because of that, the economy of Botswana is thriving. Botswana is developing. You can find some of the better hospitals in Africa are in Botswana. The school system is good, free education with high standard, government supplying everything for the students to go to school. Good roads, express roads all over the country, and they are feeding themselves in the country. They substantially feed themselves. They get some of the food from out, but they are making efforts with given that it is a landlocked country with 70% of the land in desert, only 30% there for agricultural activities. They are raising animals and exporting meat to Southern Africa and other parts of the world, simply because of governance by rule of law, which includes fighting corruption, having anti-corruption measures. We have developed a 12-count prescription for combating corruption that begins with transparency. The salary of the president and every official government being known by publishing them on the internet, printing them in the major newspapers, putting them in the simple English for all Liberians to know how much the president making, how much the speaker, president, pro tem, chief justice, justices, judges, everybody. You know,
Politicians who are
all
elected.
officials of government are making. Yeah.
Politicians who are elected to the legislature and the executive, they make the law.
Yeah.
What is the role, or what is the difference between the politicians and that of the judiciary when it comes to implementing the law?
The judicial role is to interpret the law. The judiciary is to interpret the law, and in the process, if two things the judiciary does, it makes sure that the laws that are made by the legislature are consistent with the Constitution. They are in conformity with the Constitution. And the way it makes sure that when those laws are applied to citizens of Liberia, including judicial persons like companies, and they find out that, oh, this law that you're applying against me is not consistent with the Constitution, they go to court, and the court and interpretation of the law will say, oh no, that law is not consistent with the Constitution. Or, and the second role they play is, if the law is consistent with the Constitution, for them to interpret whether or not the government applied the law correctly in the executive branch, and whether in fact the law was violated. It is only the court that can say so in interpretation of the law to say, yeah, this law is consistent with the Constitution and it was violated, or it was not violated. So the role of the judiciary is to interpret the law.
Now, Councillor Gongloe, let me ask you this question. You are a lawyer. If you ask as to whether there's some specific clause within the Constitution to make some amendment, do you think what are some of the key things that needs to be changed in the Liberian law?
You know, I don't want to deal with that now.
Okay.
Until after the election, I want right now for us to concentrate on voter education.
Okay.
They register now. How to use that ballot wisely.
Okay.
Because Liberia is a naturally rich country. Fertile soil with a lot of minerals on the soil, diamond, gold, iron ore, bauxite, manganese, so many minerals. So naturally we cannot say we are a poor country. But what is wrong with Liberia? The reason why poverty perpetuates and keeps growing and people are getting poorer and poorer is that on the election day, we wrongly misuse our ballots. We elect people who don't know what to do with the offices, because the purpose of the existence of government is to seek the common good of all citizens. They don't know, and even if they know, they deliberately refuse to do it. They lack the political will to execute their duties in a way that will make every citizen happy. They are selfish, and then some of them are ignorant and arrogant. And on election day, they bring money to us. They bring bags of rice. They bring liquor. They African humanitarians by giving scholarships only during election time, by carrying on some community projects only during election time, and then we elect them. When we elect them, they abandon their duties to us and they start seeking their own interests. Because of that, Liberia remains poor. But Liberia is not a naturally poor country. So what the voters need to do so that consistent with the constitution, all Liberians, I think, maximum benefit from the income generated from the resources of this country is to elect good leaders in the legislature and in the presidency. Then, and once we can do that once, forget about bags of rice, money, liquor, and election time humanitarians, or according to election time investors too. Because when you invest, you get profit afterwards through corruption. Once we can resist that and really elect people who understand the functions of their various offices, then Liberia will start. Because we just need one good example of a good government that will establish that kind of standard of seeking the welfare of the people, putting the welfare of the people number one. Then Liberia will take up, and that is what I'm committed to do.
I will also talk a bit. The last time you visited Marion County, we had done a lot, and there are too many good things you said. I want us to focus on the road. One of our major challenges and one of our major concerns as Liberians in this country is the issue of the road, especially having the road from the Southeastern Region connected to Liberian County is a concern. So, I want to tell us, what will you do if you become president?
So, because I live in the country, I live in a rural area, and I know what was done before to allow people to move freely. The free movement of people and goods is a right of Liberian citizens under the Constitution. It is government's duty to make sure that people move freely throughout the country. But in the way past governments did it, under Tiawan Saye Gongloe, was to maintain public works stations in major towns in Liberia. There was one in Ganta, for example. On the stretch of road going to Maryland, there was one in Ganta, one in Petro, one in Tabata, one in Tota, one in Kanwiken. Then one in Kanwiken, and then one in Plibo, so that the yellow machines in those different power stations kept the roads maintained. What they used to do is during the dry season, they will rehabilitate the road that had been damaged by the rain, lay new gutters, so that during the rainy season, the roads were easily drained because of the gutters. Even in September, July, whatever time, people are leaving from Cape Palmas to Monrovia one day. I am a living example. In 1979, as a student leader, I went to Cape Palmas, and I left Cape Palmas, I think it was in July. During the rainy season, I left Cape Palmas 6 o'clock. By 9 o'clock in the evening, I was in Monrovia. It does not happen these days. And the road, nobody goes to Southeastern Liberia now. If you are going, in fact, right now, I can say no vehicle can pass from Israel now because I talk to people to the rest of Liberia. It is only by motorbikes. That is why it's so shameful. I heard the last time that the Speaker of the House of Representatives, in order to go to people's certificate to register the vote, had to pass through Ivory Coast. It's shameful. Instead of committing money to maintain a road so that he and all other citizens can use the easiest path, which is using motor vehicles to travel to Southeastern Liberia and back. So what I intend to do is to bring back the plan that worked before, to put public work stations in all parts of the country. Lofa, the western part of Western Region, Cape Mambomi and Wapolo, then Southeastern Liberia, then the Bassa flank, around Bassa, Grand Bassa and River Cess, we have power station there. so that in all of those areas, the roads are maintained for government to meet its obligation of making sure that Liberians move freely.
What's the plan for the health education, looking at the agriculture sector? There are too many sectors in this country. What exactly do you have as a plan for all this?
In my 10-point agenda for Liberia, I intend to mechanize rice production. Because meaningful food care about in this country, not cassava, not yam. So we have mechanized rice production all over the country, by government providing machines to the farmers cooperatives on a sub-loan basis that will be paid back in 15 years through rice production, bags of rice. And then on the health side, we intend, in fact on rice production, we intend to declare war against hunger by making the military to produce at least 100 acres of rice in each of the 15 counties. We give them the new fighting machine, farming machines for them to produce rice. So I strongly believe that when the military is producing rice and the farmers are producing rice, the price of rice will drop and rice will be so plentiful all over the country. In fact, in 2-3 years, Liberia might gradually become a rice exporter and be generating income from rice production rather than paying $200 million a year for rice importation. Then I've changed Liberia's story for the better. On the health side, all reports show, Ministry of Health, all reports show that the rate of death among pregnant women is so high because they don't go to the hospital when they get pregnant. It's very expensive to go. Even if they have money, no medicine in most of the clinics. Same thing with infant mortality and death among old people. So my plan is to have free access to government clinics and hospitals by pregnant women, children under the age of 5, and all old people. And I will make sure that government hospitals and clinics are better than private hospitals and clinics, because as president, I will make surprise visits for medical treatment in those clinics and hospitals in all parts of the country. But I strongly believe that if a hospital or clinic is not good for the president of Liberia, then not good for any other citizen of Liberia.
What type of legislature, judiciary, if you are elected, you would like to work with?
Well, you know, I want enlightened people, and people who are committed to the interests of Liberia, who put Liberia number one, irrespective of whatever the issues are. They must make Liberia number one. They must, like I say, they must remain loyal to the 2 C's that I'm loyal to, my conscience and my country, to do what is right. Liberia needs that, because for a long time in this country, leaders have not had the political will to govern properly and to put the interests of the Liberians number one. I also intend to do other things that you haven't asked questions about. So we have these people called Zokos all in the street. We intend to rehabilitate them and open training schools for them to learn mechanical work and different work. We intend to open free trade schools all over the country for these young people who are only riding motorbikes and digging gold to have skills as mechanics, as carpenters, as builders, so that they don't rely only on motorbike, because you know motorbike, you can't ride motorbike when you're 40 years and beyond. You know, so we'll do that. And we're training people. Then somebody will say, what about employment? We intend to give incentives to people to open factories away from Liberia to decentralize the economy, so that every 50 miles we drop taxes and other conditions to do business for a company that will go outside Liberia. You know, 50 miles, 100, 150. So the further away you go from Liberia, the better the conditions. Those companies will employ young Liberians, especially the ones that will be training through these schools and through the rehabilitation process. And then they will not come to the city, because part of the crime rate in this Monrovia is based on a lot of young people coming to the city from Cape Town, from Jima, all over the country to look for jobs. We cannot find jobs. They get frustrated. Their friends take them to the ghettos to take marijuana. They are the ones that gradually become armed robbers and will have jobs in different parts of the country. They will remain in their countries. For example, you are from Maryland, when you may be young, but when the Suco was in Maryland, people remain in Maryland, the sugar company, and work there. In fact, there was a reversal in the migration trend. People are coming from Monrovia to Maryland to work. And then even a Sino, Van Plywood company, people are coming from Monrovia, other parts of the country to go to Sino to work. So if you put factories around the country, a furniture factory and rubber producing factory like what Jetty and different things, people would like to stay in their own area. And it will improve the economy so fast because there will be, even though government will be dropping taxes, but the workers will pay taxes to government through, income taxes, and then they will start renting from house owners, and the house owners too, the real estate owners will pay real estate taxes to government. So there will be a multiplying effect of these investments through my economic policy, and it will go all the way down to the market where people sell bitter ball, oil, and other things, because now people have money in the economy to purchase. That will grow the economy fast and help to sustain the development and peace of Liberia. Because when the economy is good, crime rate goes down.
Okay. I think you have talked about now. So just before we conclude this interview, I just wanted to just speak to last two issues here before we can close this interview. Now, I think here you mentioned ecotourism, and you agree with me that it's one of the sectors that really attract foreign.
It is in my 10-point agenda. You didn't ask that question, but I believe in tourism. And the way I look at tourism, Liberia is a virgin land for tourism. We have sending a coastline from Cape Town to Cape Palmas. In some countries that I've been to, you see rocks, big hills, right along the sea coast. In Liberia is beautiful center coastline from Cape Town to Cape Palmas, which means you can actually motivate the hotel chains around the world to build hotels along the coast, like what is happening in Libasa in Monrovia, along the coast all the way to Cape Palmas. And people come from all over the world. What is it going to do? It's going to increase flights to the country and the economy. Some of our young people will be working as flight attendants, some of the air hostesses and all of that. Then the hotels will employ a lot of Liberians along the coast. That is along the coast. Another form of tourism is ecotourism. Liberia has nearly half of the remaining forest, tropical forest in West Africa. It's one of the big world tropical forest reserves that has tropical species that people don't find in many parts of the world, mahogany and others. Some ecotourists will come to see these trees that they've never seen before, that they read about. They will come in our forest and see the pygmy hippopotamus that is in Southeastern Liberia, is in the Sapo forest. There's a species of frog that is in Guinea, Ivory Coast, and Liberia. And so much in Liberia around the Nimba Mountain area. Some people will come to see. There are birds in Liberia that are not anywhere else that people will come to see. So ecotourism is a big, it might bring us millions, if not billions of dollars every year. And it would really improve the economy.
Okay.
Are there other things we didn't ask?
Now, Brian, just before we conclude, when are we waiting to hear your running mate? I think that's the
I'm a lawyer now. I work in the scope of the law. The law is still on my side.
Okay.
I've seen the running mates of the parties that have announced. Some parties have not announced, but we will surely act within the scope of the law, because you can't have a one-man ticket. That one is a given.
It's like you keep searching for a matter of integrity, as several Liberians refer to you. Right. Is that the reason you have in the doubts?
No, that's not a reason. That's not a reason. I just want to announce. We will announce later.
Do we have
let me tell you, let me tell you this. There are more good men and women in Liberia than bad men and women. So right here in the room, among my partisans, I can take somebody right now. Okay. Each of them is capable of being vice president.
That influence could
so
matter.
there's no problem.
That influence could matter as well, Gongloe. Like maybe people say you have influence. Maybe the vice running mate will also be someone who people will want to see have the same influence. And once you both come together, that can be a positive precedent for
But let me tell you, people, people don't even remember vice presidents. If I ask you now, who was the running mate of Charles Bronson in 2005, you may not know.
Right.
If I ask you, who was the running mate of Senator Prince Johnson in 2011, even 2017, you may not know. Right now in Nigeria, you press for all of, even you follow foreign news, we know of Peter Obi.
Right.
But as educated as I am, I don't remember Peter Obi's running mate.
Right.
Okay, and the other things.
So normally people vote for the head. Who is heading this party's ticket that the president vote for? Right? So I think the issue of running mate became an important issue in this country starting from 2017 because people were speculating that some parties didn't win because of running mate. But it had never been an issue in Liberia. Before 2017, it was not an issue in this country. People don't care whoever you take as a running mate. Say, even if I ask you who was President Ellen Johnson said running mate in 1997, nobody will remember his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you don't make running mate a burning issue.
Okay.
It's like putting that on the R or crossing it. So it's a normal thing, it's a giving, it's a constant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And other things within and maybe you quickly want to mention?
I just want to say that as a lawyer, I talk about rule of law, there will be accountability for every life in this country, and human safety will be number one. We cannot have a country where people are killed, auditors, and other people are killed, and there's no accountability. All over the country, I've traveled, people are really scared because they had my business all over the country. People are afraid to go on the farms, for their wives to go on the farm alone. People are afraid to walk the road alone. We have to stop this. And I commit myself to Liberian people that when I become president, a hard man business will be a thing of the past. Because we deal drastically with the hard man issue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for speaking with us, sir.
You're welcome.
Guys, this is how we conclude this interview, and we say thanks for listening and thanks for watching.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.